Give, drop it. You don't know how this game works, Pico. You have to let go of the ball, otherwise nobody can throw it to you. Give. I have to trick you into it. Joker dog. The game is not that you hold the ball and I catch you. The game is that you give me the ball. Give me the ball. Okay, different game. I've got to go now, Pico. Got it! Haha! Ready? Go! Good girl. Good girl. Alright, so I'm leaving Kotagiri today. If you've been following my stories and posts on Instagram, then you know that I've been testing these new set of tires, the Apollo Alpha H1s on this bike, and that was the primary focus of this trip, so I didn't make a travel vlog. But a lot of people have been asking me about what I think of this bike, this motorcycle, the Dominar 400. This is not a review video of this bike, but I figured I'd just quickly make a video as I'm on my way back to Chennai, talking to you guys about my thoughts on this bike and answering those questions broadly. By the way, if you've never been to Kotagiri, add it to your list of places to go. It's near Ooty. It's a lot more quiet, less crowded than Ooty and Kannur, and it's just as beautiful. It's probably more beautiful in some ways. If you're someone who likes your peace and quiet, then you probably will enjoy this more than those other two places. Okay, getting back to what we're here to talk about. This bike, this is a 2017 Bajaj Dominar 400. It's a friend's bike, it's not my bike. I borrowed it for a few days to use, and it's been a really good decision, because on a ride like this, I've ridden about 700 odd kilometers so far. 500 plus of those were on massive straight highways from Chennai to Medupalayam, and then I've just been riding up and down the hills in the Nilgiris over here. And on tarmac, on good roads, this bike is something else. It is such fun to ride. The power is quite phenomenal, to be honest. It makes covering distance quite effortless. On open straights, you can do some pretty incredible speeds. A cruising speed of 120 is really easy to do, and the greatest thing is it doesn't just go fast, it feels well planted. Like, you're constantly confident. You're confident while you're riding the bike. You in fact sometimes are tempted to go faster. It has a lot to do with the basic design of the motorcycle, the way the dynamics of it work, and also having good tires, of course. If you get the combination right, then this bike is a great highway cruiser in my experience so far. There is a 2019 version of the bike that's been released recently. It's got a few significant upgrades, churns out a little bit more power, but the fundamentals of the bike remain the same. So what I'm talking about here, the new bike will probably do a little bit more. Now, a couple of things about the general riding style and fundamentals of this bike that don't particularly excite me. One is it's kind of front heavy, so if you're not going fast, then it can be a little bit cumbersome to handle. And it's also got a massive turning radius, so getting the bike switched around on a U, especially at slow speeds, can be a little bit of a problem. The gearing is such that you need to constantly run through the gears, which can make for a very engaging experience when you're riding in the hills. You know, you keep dropping gears and accelerating, and you know, it's a very connected ride experience when you're doing the twisties. But on a straight highway, it can get quite annoying to constantly have to run through the gears. But other than that, I really enjoy using this bike on good roads. The riding posture is comfortable. This particular bike, it doesn't have significant upgrades, but it does have handlebar risers, and it has this touring windscreen from Carbon Racing, both of which make a significant difference to your riding comfort on the highway. It makes you sit a little bit more upright, and then with the way the foot pegs are set, you have the perfect posture to do long distances on the saddle, and the touring windscreen cuts down some of that wind blast, especially when you're doing really high speeds. I'm not too fond of taking this bike on really bad roads. Something about the suspension setup and the way the bumps sort of keep hitting through on the bike, especially from the rear, I find it quite uncomfortable. Slightly bad roads, you know, gravel, all of that's chill, but when it gets really bumpy, then somehow it just, I don't find it very comfortable. In general though, one of the things I love about this bike is I feel like you're getting value for money, and that Bajaj has made an effort to make this into a bike that feels modern, like a bike that is current and relevant, you know. All of the sort of gizmos and things on this bike do whatever they're supposed to do. So the LED headlamps are such a highlight on this bike for me, because if you know what I ride otherwise, you know that my headlight doesn't really give me much visibility, whereas this one, quite often you don't even need to turn on the headlight, you just turn on the parking lights and you can see the road in front of you. It illuminates beautifully, and it's a very good looking headlight as well. The console is beautiful. It's giving you the information that it should be giving you. It's communicating with you. The things that are here, the fuel gauge, everything works properly. Now, some of you might be like, duh, of course it works properly. It's meant to do that. But in my universe, things function a little bit differently. Many things that are supposed to work just don't do what they're supposed to do. But I enjoy the fact that this bike feels modern, it feels very today. Now in terms of fuel efficiency and stuff, it is a little bit thirsty. I think I'm getting between 25 to 30 kilometers per liter on the bike, and it has a 13-liter tank, out of which 10 liters are really usable. So you get a range of 250 to 300 kilometers, which is a decent enough range for touring on most highways. You'll definitely find fuel in that kind of range. The other thing that's relevant, of course, is the realistic feasibility of loading this bike up with luggage. I'm traveling very light on this trip, but I think the Dominar has become quite a popular tourer, and as a result of which you have a lot of aftermarket manufacturers making accessories for this bike in terms of luggage, saddle stays, tail racks, you know, engine guards, everything that you might need. And since most of them are Indian manufacturers, it's kind of affordable too, so you can actually quite affordably create a little system on the rear to mount luggage enough for a long ride. So overall, I enjoy this bike on roads like this, on a trip like this. It's just great fun. You know, I had to choose between going to Yerkad and going to Ooty, and if I was on a slower motorcycle, I might have been tempted to do the shorter distance, but on this bike it was just a no-brainer. I was just like, I got to Salem and I was like, keep going, this is effortless and this is fun. Most importantly, it's fun. I was looking forward to the longer distance. I was looking forward to hitting a longer stretch of twisties, and this motorcycle makes you want to keep riding, and I think that's the ultimate sort of whatever, like that's what bikes should do.